And that's what's happening. And the sad thing is that I know a lot of parents don't get is that if we get the monies that we need to carry us through this year, there's no reserve built into that.
Understood.
Next year, what happens next year? I mean, insolvency becomes a conversation at some point. Do we become Niagara Newport at some point? Because, that's where it's heading.
Well, I hope not, because that mascot would look pretty bad mixed like that. But, ma'am, that's why we have to keep the pressure on, because if we was to get the GEA this year, right, we basically have a little bit of fund balance. Also, when I first I was surprised that we didn't have like long range goals, like 3 to 5 years. We are, basically reaction. We going from paycheck to paycheck. We're going from year to year. If we can't focus at least 3 to 5 years out, we're never going to catch up.
Well, that's common to a lot of municipalities and school districts. Here in the city of Niagara Falls, we had an issue at the beginning. A few weeks ago, they were talking about a $6.5 million deficit. Now, because of a little help from the state and a couple of other things, and we had some cash reserves, we dodged another bullet. With the full understanding, because it's been mentioned at several meetings, that next year, the problem is a lot bigger, and there is no discussion whatsoever about what the long-range plan that Mr. Sneed was talking about, what the long-range plan may be. And let's face it, the long-range plan is going to be taxes, but you're going to hit people with a big increase in 2 years when you've carved everything out, or you're going to talk about a 5-year plan and say this is what we need to keep the level of education where we're at, and let the entire community in on it. Well, thank you very much.
I have to tell you, just in closing,
sure.
I do go to some of the school board meetings at Niagara Wheatfield, and I have to tell you, Mr. Sneed, I have heard you speak at the mic, and you have quite the way about you of bringing everybody together, board members and the public. So I wish you good luck on your campaign.
Thank you, ma'am. We got to do it together.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we do have other callers on the line, and we're going to go to our next caller. And something that the lady said as she was getting off the phone about you being at the meetings and your style of speech.
Yes,
and what's your middle name?
Mark.
Mark? Okay, because on Facebook it says makes sense.
Yes, because I try to make sense. I try to make sense.
I find that pretty interesting. I met a fella a few years back who was a hotel owner here in the city of Niagara Falls, and his first, he introduced himself as BF, and I'm thinking, he's Indian. I'm thinking, I'm really going to get a name here, I said, what's BF stand for? He says, best friend. So right. Caller, you're on.
Hello, Vince. How are you? Good morning.
Good, Roger.
I'm calling because of a couple issues. I want to talk to this young man running for the school board. And before that, I hear all these concerns. I hear all of your callers calling in and everything. Vince, you know what? During your administration, I documented so many different times that we had hundreds of meetings over your term. And you always reached back with telephone calls and emails, and you know what? Sometime I'm going to come on your show, and I'm going to talk about all of these initiatives that you worked with the block clubs to put together.
Well, that's what frustrates me is because you don't see success doesn't mean that there isn't people. We don't have people trying. And my attitude, and I think you'll back me up on this, was we'll try something. If it doesn't work, don't be embarrassed. Try something else.
That's right. If a program does not work, you scrap it and move on, find one that does.
Right. I mean, you just keep doing it until you find the right combination. With us, I think we had a beautiful plan. We just didn't have the support of the council, and we didn't have the money at the time. Because,
okay. I'm going to come on your show sometime. We're going to be talking about this because
you
did a good job. But anyway, your young man that's running for the city council,
the school board, yeah.
Board of Education. I moved out in the town of Niagara. Wheatfield is my school district. And I moved out here and bought a $175,000 home. Now, when inflation is going at an average cost of about 2.5%, and you've raised, this Board of Education has raised 4% a year plus. What they've done is, I got a fixed mortgage for one reason. I got a fixed mortgage for one reason, so my mortgage rate would not go up because, like a lot of other people here, they're on limited fixed incomes. I'm a pensioner, okay? Now, I shouldn't have to go out and get another job to pay an additional $35 a month that's been going up. And I bought this house at $175, but my school taxes are $3,600 a year. $3,600 a year times the amount that's going to take me to pay off this, I'm going to be paying $100,000. Yeah. Now, $100,000. You're on the school board. When we talk about cutting costs,
I'm not there yet.
You're running for the school board.
Who are?
Where are you going to cut costs? Because I don't believe for a minute in a day that we should pay football coaches and baseball coaches $13,000 a year. Now, I ran Little League programs for 15 years of my life. We raised money. You know what? If your son wants to play Little League football, we don't go to the city of Niagara Falls and beg and tell the taxpayers to pick up all the money.
Well,
that's a stipler because the costs are going to continue to go up. But when you're sitting on $6 and $8 and $12 million in reserve accounts, and then you cry at when it's for a rainy day. Well, guess what? For the last couple of years, it's been raining. So what do you have to respond to that?
First of all, so you said we got millions of dollars in a rainy day fund?
They had them over the last few years.
Right.
Why do you think Wheatfield got in this problem? Because the governor of the state said they want more money in all of the school districts, but they're all sitting on cash accounts. Okay? Does the cash account spin off when you're sitting on $2 or $3 million? Where did the interest go? There's interest attached to that. Does that go back into the budget, or does it go for extracurricular?
Sir, let me put it this way.
Yes.
My opinion is, right, that since I've been really paying attention the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't seen this fund to cash cow you was mentioning, but I cannot see everything they have maybe in the executive committee. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not transparent, but another reason why I'm running for the board, because I care about it also, is I want to see. I want to know. And like I said, once I see and I know and decisions got to be made, I try to make the best decision using the decision-making process. Now, I cannot say about what previous boards has done. I mean, some people say they make some mistakes. You know, we had a fund balance, and then they did an audit, and the fund balance is gone. Some people blame it because Obama gave them for 3 years. He gave us the federal monies, but that we wasn't raising taxes, and then we start to use our fund balance because we wasn't raising taxes, which Niagara Falls is probably going to go through last year. I don't recommend raising taxes, though. All this happened. Those things I see. Those things I want to be a part of the decision-making process with the community. It's got to be a community. That's me. I recommend we have more town halls other than school boards. Have 1 or 2 board members go and just have a town hall so we can hear different people who can't come to a school board meeting on Wednesdays.
So if you're sitting on that board and that board proposes a $36 million budget, and it gets turned down in the community, are you going to come back the next day and say, okay, we're going to propose a $35.9 million budget?
So in my opinion,
you guys can come and vote on it again because we just found another $100,000 in savings.
Sir?
Yes.
The budget is working. It just doesn't happen all at one time. Now, where they got the $100,000 from, you know what I'm saying, different bills, revenues are coming in from different ways. The BOCES, you might get paid for BOCES because you get reimbursed certain things. Certain things come in that way. But I know one thing is 36 and a 35.9, that's not fooling nobody, not unless you're trying to buy a T-shirt for $9.99 instead of $10.
Okay, but remember this. in the sports programs when you're paying a couple $100 for helmets because you don't want head injuries in football?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you know what? Should every taxpayer pay for that? You know what? You want sports programs. You know what? It's okay to have sports, but they have to have a 25-75 split where the money comes in from other sources. You can't. An 86-year-old woman is not going to be taking her tax money. She wants to pay for education.
Okay.
Sports is part of that. I understand.
Right.
But at the same time, the cost on running sports with the liability and the injuries and everything else goes through the roof. And when you're sitting on that board, you got to take a pencil and a pen sometimes, and you got to cross out what you think is going to save taxpayers money and put it towards educating the children.
No, I agree with that, sir. Can I mention one thing real quick?
Yes.
Did you read the newspaper today, correct?
Yes.
All right, now, look at all these cuts you made. Then they only made probably $87,000, but we lost basically half of our sports programs, all right? Now, what I'm saying is I think that when the superintendent, she recommended things, she tried to make it fair as possible. That's what she tried to do, make it fair as possible. I think that. But, we got to have more input, like I say, from the community too. And the best way to get more input is, like the same way we call the congressmen or whatever, we got to call and attend school board meetings. Because if we don't hear the voices, you know what I'm saying, sometimes the voices don't be heard.
Well, I thought they heard the voices the last 3 years when the budget has been turned down.
Yes, I do agree with that. Some people wanted a 9.9. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they tried something. They had to drop it down to a 4.5. Right? Now, what I'm saying is I'm not a let's raise taxes type of guy. That's why I keep going back to the GEA. If we get properly funded, build a fund balance, we can start reducing taxes. We need to stay on our senators, our assemblymen, because if we don't, I'm telling you, we're not going to be just on cutting things. We're going to be having tourniquets on our programs, right? We're going to be on life support. And that's where we at right now. That's why I keep harping on it. People say, Darren, well, actually they say, Sneed, why do you keep saying things about our leaders? Because who else am I going to blame? They are controlling the funds from Albany, the governor, the Senate, the assembly people.
Because if they didn't keep controlling them, they would, all school boards across the state, and there's 780 some of them,
yes, sir,
would always they always play their game with the budget. I understand what the game is played when they say that before they roll it out, they say we're running a deficit and we're going to have this much of a deficit, and they throw fear in the community as far as we're going to cut this program and we're going to cut kindergarten a couple of years ago. We're going to cut music programs. Well, you know what? If you cut music programs, the kids can get their own type of instruments, and you know what? We could do it as a volunteer community.
Hey, Roger.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to having you on the show. It's we're up against the clock.
Okay, I understand, Vince.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for calling, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Caller, we have about 60 seconds, maybe a little bit longer. Go ahead.
Yes, I've heard. I'm hearing about cutting all these programs from the last caller. Really, I just wanted to listen to what Mr. Sneed said.
Sure.
I have to say about it. We can't keep taking away these programs and talk about focusing on education, because obviously there's no focus on education. And cutting out all these extracurricular activities. The caller before, you had those activities. You had those things, the trade school inside the schools, the sports programs, stuff like that. That's why the generation before it became so successful and was able to live the way they live now.
Okay, we'll have Mr. Sneed comment on that, because you're what you're bringing up is very, very important. Go ahead.
Sir, I like to call it pass it forward. And we had a couple of young students talk about the same thing yesterday. The people before us had these certain things. They want their fair share too. Another thing I'm talking about, when kids go to school, colleges are looking for well-rounded students. Not anybody. They don't want to just see on your application that you AP. They're going to want to see what else you done. Did you get to the community? Did you do any sports? Did you do any clubs? Did you do any activities? Right? That helps us.
Thank you very much. We're up against the clock, and I want to thank you, callers. Thank you very much. Mr. Sneed, I want to thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you again. And I know you're running and hoping to win. Maybe we'll see you here as a board member. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir.